Financial Secretary, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for being so numerous today here. It's a pleasure for an Italian living in Hong Kong to see so much interest. I believe the next two sessions will be extremely important. We will have very interesting and prominent business leaders speaking about Hong Kong, speaking about the possibilities of doing business in Hong Kong. And these people are going to be Italian, going to be American, going to be Chinese. On my side, I have to say my job is very easy. I have to thank the Hong Kong TDC for having involved the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong and Macau to be part of this very important meeting. On my side, I'd like to quickly introduce the first panel speaker is James Thompson. He's the chairman and founder of the Crown Worldwide Group. We call him Jim, not James. He's an American citizen, graduated from San Jose State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering. He came to Asia, I believe, 35 years ago, and lived in Japan and Hong Kong. He's a member of the International Advisory Board of the San Jose State University Business School. Crown Worldwide needs very little introduction. It's a logistic company performing various types of warehousing and transportation services throughout the world. I'm a customer, very happy, always been very happy with their service. They employ 5,200 people. They are present in over 60 countries around the world. They are leaders in document management with 22.3 million cartons of business documents managed from its worldwide facilities. Mr. Thompson is a US citizen, is a permanent resident of Hong Kong, and was awarded the Gold Bohemian Star, Hong Kong's second highest award by the Hong Kong government in 2003. Mr. Jim Thompson.
Well, thank you very much, Fabio, and I'm going to stand in this box. Because of all the things I've accomplished in my life, I didn't grow very big, but, but it's wonderful to be in Italy, and I love coming to this country, and fortunately we have a lot of Italian influence and spirit in Hong Kong, so it's pretty much we can recreate what you have here in Hong Kong, and we love that. I'd like to say that the reason I am here today to speak to you is because I, as a non-Chinese citizen, have been very successful in Asia, having used Hong Kong as the headquarters for my company. And just to give you a little background, there was a little bit of an explanation of what we do. We're in the general logistics and transportation business, but within that business we do a lot of services, including the distribution of high fashion. We have a wine storage business that we have in Hong Kong, and we do fine arts transport and logistics services as well. I started my company, I actually started it in Japan in 1965, so within a few months, 3 months' time, it will be 50 years since I began the business. But having started in Japan, within a very few years, we opened an office in Hong Kong, and it was then that I realized that Hong Kong was such an ideal place to run a business. And all the things that you've heard this morning and that you will hear again from different people like myself are really true facets or factors that make doing business in Hong Kong so incredibly easy. I started, as I say, in 1965 with just $1,000 of capital. I was very young and I was energetic, but I'm happy to say that after all these years, we now have about 250 of our own operations around the world, and in 50 or 60 countries, I can't remember, but we have a very successful office here in Italy, based here in Milan, with offices in Turin and also in Rome. So we are familiar with doing business in many countries, and it's on that basis, the experience of having worked in so many countries, that I think I can speak reliably about the difference the differences and advantages that Hong Kong has. So let me start first with what I think is the greatest asset of Hong Kong, and it has been discussed a bit this morning, but I'd like to elaborate, and that is the Hong Kong people themselves. Now, Asian people generally are very hardworking and productive, but I have to say that in Hong Kong there's a particular advantage because, first of all, English is widely spoken, and English, let's face it, is the international language of business. And it's really a big advantage in Hong Kong to have this English language. But the work ethic in Hong Kong is something amazing. I know people in many countries work hard, but for some reason it seems like the Hong Kong people have been more productive than most that I've come in contact with around the world. They are people with an attitude that they are going to get the job done, they care about their company, and they're going to make sure that they don't let anybody down. So they may have to work late hours to achieve the job that they're given, but they always do it. We hire, in our company, we hire obviously a number of white-collar workers and a lot of blue-collar workers. And I can tell you that without exception, they all feel part of a team that wants to get a job done. And I think what I tell you today would be told thousands of times by other people who are doing business there. And it's really one of Hong Kong's biggest advantages is the people themselves. One of the things that I've seen in my time in Hong Kong was the increased emphasis and investment in education. The financial secretary puts out a budget every year, and more money goes toward the education system in Hong Kong. And on the tertiary level, the university level, when I got to Hong Kong, there were basically 2 major universities. Now there are 9. And we are turning out an incredible number of people who are really productive and smart, and they do supplement the businesses, you know, our financial industry and many others. But certainly we have some excellent university graduates working in our own company. So I put the people as the #1 advantage that we've had as we've built our company around the world from a Hong Kong base. The second thing I would mention, and again it's been touched on, is that the internationality of Hong Kong is second to none. I'm an American, but whether you're Italian or any other nationality, when you come to Hong Kong, you're treated like a local. There are no discrimination. The place is nationality blind, as they say. So if you're doing business, men, women, any nationality, you're welcome in Hong Kong and you're treated so equally. This is not always the case that we've found in other countries. As a matter of fact, I would say that in many of the countries that we've operated in or established our business in, we do run into these factors of corruption. I won't name the countries, but I think you can guess what the countries are. Makes it somewhat difficult. We run into incredible bureaucracy where it is so difficult to get a project done because of regulations. We run into high taxes, which you know, takes all the fun out of the business at the end of the day when you work so hard and you have to give all the money back and you don't have it available for your own company's use. So Hong Kong has these amazing advantages, but I would say internationality is certainly one of the key factors that make it such a great place. That you come in there and you're just one of the local people. And that's been the case, I think, since the place was established in the beginning. I mentioned the subject of taxes, and I'd just like to elaborate because in a previous panel, we talked about the low taxes, and someone said, does that not amount to some tax avoidance? Well, it certainly doesn't, because as the financial secretary said, not only do we have free education and free medical services and subsidized housing, but we also have a budget surplus and we have full employment. So the tax structure in Hong Kong is incredibly fair to this population of 7 million people. And what it does from my perspective, from my company's perspective, is the fact that we do make good profits. We make very good profits in Hong Kong. We pay 15%, 16% to the government, which is a fair amount. You have no incentive to cheat or avoid taxes. You just give your share to make the system work. But with the remainder, with that roughly 85% remainder, you are allowed to reinvest in your business, and that is exactly what's happened in my case. We earned the money, we were allowed to keep most of it, and we reinvested it in building this global network of companies that we have around the world. And it's really one of the huge advantages of the Hong Kong system, the Hong Kong government system that we have over there. I think I mentioned that we were in the wine trade. We actually are in the logistics end of the wine trade, but I have to say we have a lot of Italian influence in our wine business. In fact, we have an organization called the Knights of Alba, which is a group that's from the province of Alba here in Italy. And so there's a lot of promotion of Italian wine, as with other wines from other countries. But that has really enabled Hong Kong to become the wine center of Asia. And I think if I could just relate this to the way the Hong Kong government operates, when the financial secretary, this gentleman, John Chung, decided that he would take the tax down to zero, he actually was acting like an entrepreneur himself on behalf of the government. He was saying, I will give up the tax that we have collected, and I will use that as an investment to build the wine industry and the wine trade in Hong Kong, or based in Hong Kong. And that's exactly what happened. So many jobs in the wine industry and related industries were created by the fact that he made that decision and made that investment. So all winemakers now come to Hong Kong. Wine comes in great numbers to Hong Kong, many of it redistributed to China and other places. But I think it's a good indication of exactly how the Hong Kong government works, which is different than many others. We also do work in the fine arts field, and I would say that this has become a nice business for us, not only in Hong Kong, but in Europe and around the world. And I think this is an indication that fine arts and culture are globalizing more than they ever have before. So we've just had some wonderful works of art from right here in Italy displayed in Hong Kong, some that have never left Italy before. And we have numbers of galleries. And what we do in a company is we are a logistics operator for fine arts, and it's becoming a very, very nice business for us. I don't want to take up all the time. I know we want to have some question and answers, but I would like to just mention one other point about Hong Kong. If you're interested in working in China, and this has certainly been an advantage to my company, Crown, as we developed in China, one of the things that's happened over the last 40 years in Hong Kong is that we have become the center of knowledge and experience in terms of operating in China. We would never recommend that a company just burst into China and try to do business. We strongly recommend that you come to Hong Kong, whether you establish an office or just use the expertise in Hong Kong, because there's an abundance of it there, and it actually is based on mistakes that have been made by companies in the past, learning from things that have been done wrong in China. But we all know that China is so important to our markets of the future, and that expertise exists in Hong Kong. So it's one of those things that you must really focus on if you're going in. Finally, I would just say that this is truly the Asian century. There's no question that with the elements of war from World War II and the Korean War and the Vietnam War and the Cultural Revolution, we had an unstable look on Asia, and people were not looking to invest there as much as they have been recently. And when I say recently, I'm talking about the mid-70s, when there became peace throughout Asia, and with peace came prosperity. And there is no question that with the energy and the money that's being generated, that mainly from China, we have to acknowledge that's the place of the future, this area of the world is about to become, or is already becoming, one of the most dynamic anywhere. And it will continue that way for the entire century. So I would say to you as business people, men and women, that it is almost essential that you extend your business to Asia, because it is the Asian century. And I can think of personal experience, I can think of no better place to base your business than in Hong Kong because of the internationality, ease of doing business, and all the other things you have heard and will hear again. But I think I can speak as a businessman, 50 years experience, a lot of global experience, that this place is an amazing place to do business. And I would strongly recommend that you, if you continue to do, if you haven't been there already, come and see it and continue to build your businesses for Asia on this platform. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Jim Thompson is an inspiration for many young people in Hong Kong because his success story is incredible, and he decided to stay in Hong Kong, and I'm sure he could have lived anywhere in the world. I forgot to tell you before that you have a question paper in the documentation that was given to you. So if you want to put any questions, we'll entertain questions at the end of this panel. Not too many, but I think there is space for 2 or 3 questions. It's now time for an icon of the Italian business in Asia. I'm introducing Carlo Mazzi, Chairman and Executive Director of PRADA. Mr. Mazzi was appointed as chairperson of the board in 2014, February 14. Has been re-elected, was re-elected as executive director on May 22nd, 2012. He obtained a degree cum laude in mechanical engineering from Bologna University in 1971. Again, another engineer, as much as Jim. And master degree in business administration from Bocconi University in Milano in 1976. Worked as manager of the large corporate department of IMI San Paolo from 1994 to 2000. And of course, he was board member of anything you can think within the IMI San Paolo activity, and then IBI, International Business Advisors Investment in Amsterdam. He was member of IBI Bank AG Zurich, board member of IBI Corporate Finance Amsterdam, managing director of IBI S.p.A. Milano Financial Intermediation, currently a board member of SECVA SRL Arezzo, which is a service company, and board member of ABN AMRO. But without further ado, Mr. Mazzi from PRADA.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity to speak in such an important symposium. I feel honored and a little intimidated being here. I'm not a good speaker, so I think that what I can tell you is not going to be a lesson or a lesson on macroeconomics, also because when I'm home and I try to make such considerations, my son, who is a economy professor at Brussels, he always tells me that I'm just making things up. So I just came here to tell you and my personal experience with Hong Kong. For as much as it's just an individual experience, it is also a very diversified experience in commercial terms. I've been working in the industry and also in the finance sector. This is also a particular occasion, a good chance for me, because PRADA is celebrating its 20th anniversary, the 20th anniversary of its presence in Hong Kong, because 20 years ago PRADA opened its full store in Hong Kong in Alexandra House, and since then we've gone a long way, because today in Hong Kong we have 23 stores and we have 350 people working in our commercial area and managing those stores. And we have in Hong Kong our headquarters, our general Asian headquarters, which coordinates the activities of our subsidiaries in Asia and which also distributes PRADA products throughout Asia. In terms, generally speaking, in Asia, 150 people more work for us. Just recently, 2 years ago, we also set up in Hong Kong a department that is part of the industrial side of our group, which is dedicated exclusively to product development, which is a very important function for us, because it's the activity that is immediately related to design, which is the core for an activity such as ours, lifestyle activity. It's something, it's very delicate, it's very important. In PRADA we have 900 people worldwide working in this sector. And this is very significant, and it must be pointed out, because the lifestyle sector is based on this apparently immaterial content, which is something, though, that absorbs a lot of resources and which needs a lot of knowledge, know-how. It is the base for the production of lifestyle products. These products are ambivalent because they have their own quality per se, the quality of the product, and they also have an immaterial value, which is design, which is research of new materials, research of new technologies, of new production technologies and manufacturing technologies. We are convinced that this decision of moving the heart, the core parts of our activity to Hong Kong is a decision that is going to prove successful in the future, because it's true that we, just like many other colleagues in our sectors, believe in made in Italy. But we must also think that the world is constantly evolving, and subsequently, what was once made in England, I don't know, some cashmere vest, is not today significant, because the manufacturing is not there, it's not in England, so it's not really made in England. Maybe it moved to Italy or to other countries. So we must always bear in mind that whatever is today's reality, it's different from yesterday's reality, and it's going to be different from tomorrow's reality. So, Asia, which is a continent with different and ancient cultural realities, maybe the most ancient cultures in the world, Asia is a continent with a lot of resources, essentially human resources. And it's also full of enthusiasm in trying to develop its own economy. It's a continent that will become more and more important in the future. Today already, for PRADA, Asia is the premier market, which maybe 10 years ago nobody would expect. Today, in Asia, we get around 40% of our turnover, which is 1.5 billion. And only mainland China, we get 30% of our overall income, which is 3/4 of what we achieve in Asia, which means 1 billion in terms of turnover. But I repeat again, we have to think that today, talking about markets in merely geographical terms is not correct anymore, because we have to think of a global market, so we can diversify and try to interpret the different needs and instances of the clients, but we also have to take into considerations populations, not nations. In fact, our clients, sticking to my experience, my Asian clients are more than 40%, are more than 50%, because obviously today people's ability to move is close to absolute. Nobody, not even middle classes, can consider traveling as something difficult, because it's something quite common for everybody. Buying a ticket is quite easy, maybe even just to visit a different continent. So, if you see this in perspective, we have to think that economy is gradually shifting from Europe, maybe we say it's Europe, and maybe it's a matter of concern for us, so from Europe to Asia, which is becoming nowadays the hub, the economic hub of the world, such as America used to be. In my opinion, Asia is going to become the main hub of the world's economy. Maybe in 100 years, maybe in 100 years it will be the turn of Africa, but I can't foresee the future more than a few years. Lastly, the last and maybe more important experience I've had with Hong Kong is the financial experience I've had there. 4 years ago, PRADA had to choose where to launch its IPO, to go onto the stock market. The evaluation that was made back then was mainly based on one simple consideration, that is the internationalization of our company, which in Italy is worth around 15% of the overall turnover. So, from a financial standpoint, we wanted to reaffirm our international position. So, we asked ourselves, where should we launch our IPO? The simplest solution might have been London, because the London stock market and the Milan Stock Exchange market are integrated. London is close, you can even fly there in the morning and come back in the evening. The financial languages, the economic languages, the legal languages are quite alike, but our consideration became wider because Asia is our main market, and it's going to be like that. So we decided to try and understand whether it would be easy or possible at all to launch an IPO in Hong Kong. I must confess that back then I wasn't that confident. I was a little worried because of moving so far and shifting the whole group to a place and a civilization that seems so far from us. But after the initial verifications, the initial tests, I grew more and more convinced that Hong Kong was a great opportunity for us. So we faced this journey, and the outcome was immediately positive. Many people I met back then and I still meet, keep asking me, why did we decide to move to Hong Kong? How are things there in Hong Kong? And my answer is always the same. We made this decision with great satisfaction, and we still think that we made the best possible decision. And today, if I was to make the same move again, I would do that to Hong Kong again. Why? Because, as I said, it's a really international market. Our investors on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange market are mainly international investors. The first ones are the main ones are the Americans and the Britons, and of course the Chinese. So we didn't lose any investment opportunity in that regard. Our concerns in terms of different financial and legal worlds didn't turn out to be true or to have any ground. So what I can confirm today, speaking about Hong Kong, is that relationship with institutions in Hong Kong are what I would like to have in Italy too. But of course I do realize that before Italy gets to such a great level of efficiency, it's going to take some time. Today's hopes are a little better because the new Italian government is made of young people full of enthusiasm, and it's probably going to point our country to the right direction. I can only be thankful toward Hong Kong for this experience, which in a few words is the outcome of a happy marriage between the pragmatism of the English common law, which is applied in Hong Kong, and the efficiency of the Chinese people, based on the values, maybe values that come even from the Confucian philosophy, and that still inspire the Chinese people's enthusiasm when they are working. For this, I am thankful to this city, and I can certainly confirm to all my Italian colleagues that should they wish to get to know Hong Kong better, they must not be afraid at all, and they can count on a lot of good opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Mazzi, also for pointing to a very important factor in doing business in Hong Kong, which is the efficiency of the bureaucracy. I think it's unparalleled in my experience around the world. It's now time for Xia Hua, Chairwoman of Eve Group. Xia Hua founded Eve Fashion Group 20 years ago from a small booth in Beijing Xidan district. The company now has become one of the most successful menswear retailers in China. and operates over 500 shops. Company comprises brands under the Eve umbrella: Eve China, Eve de Uomo, Notting Hill, Kevin Kelly, Jack Sprit. Eve Group designed clothing for a number of major events, namely the 2008 Olympic Games and China's 60th anniversary celebration. Ms. Hua was a professor at University of Political Science and Law before entering into fashion. She is also the National Committee member of the All China Youth Federation, Standing Director of Chinese Clothing Association, and Vice President of the Beijing Textile and Apparel Industry Association. I believe more importantly, she was selected as one of the 25 most influential Chinese in global fashion by Forbes. Without further ado, Ms. Xia Hua.
Okay, I want to speak Chinese because I want to tell some very interesting story. 那我接下来其实我想讲几个有趣的故事。因为阿里巴巴 IPO 以后，可能
As you know,
在问说中国的公司为什么可以这么快，而且
Alibaba went to launch their IPO.
原因让这么多的
And I want to explain why Chinese companies are so fast in launching IPOs and in developing.
这个引起了很大的一个效应。因为我很有幸跟 Jack Ma 和 Jack Lee， 就是马云先生和
Well, this created a great impact worldwide.
这个一个
I had the chance to speak with Mr. Jack Lee and Mr. Ma,
太极阵，就是它是中国人的太极文化和东方的
Who
禅的文化结合在一起的
set up
运动。
Tai Chi and their company.
那么我特别想
As you well know, Tai Chi is a millenary Chinese traditional culture.
阿里巴巴 IPO 的时候，大家会看到一个非常有趣的现象：一家中国公司，这个
As you see, this is a very interesting phenomenon.
在身后站了很多很多赚钱的好朋友，他们不仅仅来自中国，还来自全世界。像日本的孙正义先生。
When there is an important Chinese company with great value, that means that they are backed from very influential partners like Yao CEO, that is from Japan.
所以我想说，我说今天的中国公司
And these are great investors and very helpful for our Chinese companies.
就是大家分享利益的一个态度，它已经会跟全世界。
Chinese companies today
今天我特别
are very open to the entire world, and this is a topic that I would like to share with you.
是在中国政法大学教法律的一个大学老师，但是
The If Group, my company, saw me starting as a professor, and in a few years, or in 20 years, we were able to develop a lot.
商人
This development is mainly due to the Hong Kong platform,
在香港其实有一个
as contacts with people worldwide are facilitated through this platform.
这个意大利的朋友叫什么？
Moreover, in Hong Kong, we hold a promotional event. We've got a promotional effect.
能够让
Thanks to the Hong Kong
一个很好的对接。
TDC,
是10年前开始，
we have the opportunity of promoting Chinese companies in Hong Kong. We started cooperating with them 10 years ago.
那么用10年的时间，我创造了
Before then,
5个中国品牌。那么
I was only able to sell in retail markets.
男性的
And in a few years, I developed 5 new brands. And I was able to gain 800,000 influential customers in China.
百货商场和 shopping mall 发展起来的。但是那个时候我们开始
We created and we sold many Chinese products in shopping malls and in Chinese stores. when I started cooperating with Hong Kong, we started to create some hubs and some clubs to approach influential people that then have become our main clients. The most affluent and influent people in China are now Eve's Group's clients. The two sectors that we've just entered were constituted in Hong Kong, so I thank Hong Kong Trade Development Council for this. Chinese craftsmen were able to inherit our tradition, and we were able to gather them. And this craftsman force is focused on tradition, and thanks to tourism and development, they developed what they inherit. They used to sell fruit at stands, and now they developed. So I underline the importance of our tradition and the promotion of it. It took us 10 years, but we were able to gather 600 very capable women to work. We pay them and we provide a place to work so that they can manufacture traditional Chinese products. These, as you can see, are products with Chinese design. They are very interesting and very particular. We found this form of B2B cooperation on the Hong Kong platform with French and Italian companies. We tried to cooperate in this business and to find a common inspiration. On this ground, we were able to create very broad cooperation. And thanks to that, we were able to launch our product worldwide. So I wish all the other international companies to find the same positive ground that we found. Moreover, each very important and big company value design and taste. That is why we created this design space for international designers. We were able to gather over 600 designers from all over the world, and they offered their services to many Chinese companies. Next year, there will be Expo 2013 here in Italy. And an important manufacturer from China will have an exhibition space there. So their design, manufacturing, and packaging will be displayed in their exhibition space together with our products. In our 20th anniversary, we celebrate in Beijing in this castle. And this castle was designed by a French architect. We organized an exhibition there, included many designers and artists. We offer our services right now to over 300 Chinese companies. We provide fresh ideas on design and lifestyle. Hong Kong is a great platform for the Eve group and for everybody. So I can witness the importance of this platform, as Eve were able to expand very well within the Chinese market. And now we are able to support many European manufacturers. I've got good friends in Italy, like Mr. Francesco, that is here among us. We have over 500 stores throughout China and many distribution channels, so we can share our resources at global level, especially in this transition moment for the Chinese economy. Thanks to the internet, people are closer and closer. And the F group is able to provide not only information but also services. I believe, well, I wish to maintain and expand our relationship with Chinese and foreign companies so that our products may be even better known at global level. This love was able to be born in Hong Kong, and the Hong Kong Trade Development Council was the better driver for this union. Today, the Chinese market is mainly consumer-oriented, and this is a great opportunity. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Xia Hua. Also, she mentioned two very important points in my opinion. First of all, Hong Kong is the place where people meet. You have French, Italian, American going to Hong Kong in the fashion business, and decisions are taken in Hong Kong. Second point, which I really like, is she invited Italian entrepreneurs to believe in cooperation with China and to be sure that Hong Kong is a safe place to enhance this cooperation. Now it's time for just a few questions. I have received one from the floor. It is for me, so I will answer that maybe later. I have a question for Mr. Mazzi. You mentioned, lei ha parlato
You talked about your experience in Hong Kong, and Dr. Simoni earlier talked about the progress that was made for the implementation of the double taxation agreement between Italy and Hong Kong. Obviously, it's a very important point, but to me, it's even more important to think that the implementation of this agreement is just the first step towards the elimination of Hong Kong from the blacklist. How important is this process for companies such as PRADA, which have great interests in Hong Kong? Obviously, yes. It is very important for us, and it's very important for the Italian international economy as a whole. This classification of countries in white lists or black lists is, in my opinion, a remainder of an ancient past. Today the market is global, so besides artificial states such as the Cayman Islands, which only perform one function, that is allowing people to save some money off taxes, all other countries in which there is a real market and a real economy, all countries must be treated equally. The protectionist tradition, unfortunately, is so typical of our economy, and it's a great contradiction of liberalism. We know that the United States are the forerunners of liberalism, but we also know that the USA have a strong tradition of protectionism. I don't want to criticize the USA now, it's just a general problem. This comes from the past. This comes from a time when economy was totally different, when agriculture was the base of people's lives. Today, industry, trade, communications are becoming bigger than agriculture, of course, but governments are left behind in their mentality. Just think of the problem of currency exchange. Today, the states are facing problems managing, working with some currencies. So the need to create euro is partly based on this idea. So the power of multinational companies, global companies, is very often greater than the power of a single state. So I wish for this to happen as soon as possible, because it's going to happen sooner or later. The alternative would be to exclude Italy and those countries who still want to remain protectionist from the global market. The alternative would be to make Italian entrepreneurs leave Italy. And today this phenomenon is appearing because many medium-sized and small-sized entrepreneurs from Lombardy are moving their plants, their manufacturing plants, to Ticino, which is the Italian part of Switzerland, which is so close to Milan and northern Italy. It's very close to Varese, for instance. Obviously, it's a very important point, and that's the reason why I'm still hopeful that the new government will approach this issue more openly, which young people normally do. So I hope they take action instead of me, because I can't say I'm really young now.
Grazie, molto chiaro. I have a question for Jim Thompson, which is this time on your experience in Italy. What was your experience? If you find that it's really so difficult to do business in Italy, you haven't mentioned any countries where you find there are problems with the local administration and other problems, but I wonder if Italy is one of those.
Well, Italy has been a success for us. It is different. We have, I think, the issue of being a global business is that you have to adapt to the conditions, the laws of each country, and Italy has, we've done that. It's a little bit more difficult, or somewhat more difficult, than operating in a place like Hong Kong. But I have to say that it's not nearly as bad as some other European countries that we've had to deal with, which have very, very difficult social laws. I mean, let's face it, I don't mean to be cruel, but I mean, in some businesses you have ups and downs and you have to hire more people or let some people go. And in some countries it's impossible to do that. I mean, the laws do not, you almost, instead of hiring them, you adopt them for life, and it becomes an expensive part of doing business. We haven't found that as bad in Italy as we've found it in some of the northern European countries, which is very difficult, and as a result we've had to go to some extent to contract labor as opposed to hiring directly, which we prefer to do. But having said that, we recently built a beautiful building here just outside of Milan, and our business has continued to grow, and we find we have a very good position here. I think, you know, as I mentioned in my talk, there are some countries, maybe more in the third world, where corruption is rampant, and those are the kinds of things that are very frustrating for companies with strong ideals and good governance, and to have to face these situations and keep your own company morals high without having to deal with local practices, corrupt practices, is probably one of the most difficult parts of doing business. But I would say that I would rate my experience in operating in Italy to be quite good, and we're very pleased to be here, and we look forward to continuing to expand our business here. It's a big part of our global system.
Thank you, Jim. This is reassuring. The last question for this panel is for Ms. Xia, and I wonder if she likes doing shopping in Milan. 你喜欢不喜欢米兰的商店？
我觉得这是一个对于全世界女人
I
都
think
很有吸引力
that
的。
it's a good question.
大家都希望来米兰。
Milan is a great pole of attraction for women from all over the world. All women want to come to Milan and have some shopping. I've noticed that there are many shop assistants in Milan who are fluent in Chinese, who are Chinese, and that means that there are more and more Chinese buying here in Milan. Many Chinese, lots of Chinese come here to do shopping. Based already on the knowledge they got in China, they got to know the brand in China, and they come to Italy to purchase because the taxation level is lower here in Italy. So I think that both in Hong Kong and in China, you have to present yourselves the right way to really put an effort into it, because that's where decisions are going to be taken. Whether you are going to sell or not, it's going to be decided there. For instance, my colleague from PRADA said that 40% of its business comes from China. But it's also true that many Chinese come to Milan and buy from here, from the PRADA store here.
I think this session is over. Let me thank again Jim Thompson, Carlo Mazzi, and Xia Hua.